CAMHS. This is my office. So let's get started with the day. Hello. If you're new to my videos, my name's Francis. I'm studying for a Master's in Developmental Psychology and Clinical Practice at UCL. And as part of this Master's, I'm doing a 3-day-a-week placement working in CAMHS, the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service in the NHS. I'm here at Springfield Hospital in southwest London. Today, we're going to talk about the bread and butter of this service, which is assessment and triage. Where's my mic? Where's my hand? Basically, the team I work in is a single point of access team, which is a tier 2 service, meaning that we don't hold cases, they're on inpatient units. Every referral into CAMHS in Wandsworth Borough from GPs and schools comes here. They also come from A&E. We decide what to do with them via the process of triage and assessment. We refer on to a number of services, including a CBT clinic, counselling services run by the local authority, Neurodevelopmental services, MASH, which stands for the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub. Even though this is a lower tier of CAMHS, there can often be referrals that have immediate safeguarding risk, then they get passed on to MASH. There's art therapy, there's drama therapy, there's an eating disorders unit, Deaf CAMHS, a family therapy clinic. Basically, there's a lot of different services that I cannot remember the name of all of them. Every morning in this team, there is a triage phone call by the clinical nurse specialists who go through all of the cases that have just come in and decide what to do with them. If they're deemed to require an assessment, they come in for a 90-minute talk with one of the clinical nurses or clinical psychologist or myself. Basically, I've got an assessment with a young person at 10, which I'm going to do and be observed by my supervisor. Before then, I'm going to read all the notes on the system that we have for the young person. We use this website called IAPTUS, which other services like to use Rio, I believe. Each kid who's ever been into CAMHS in the borough has a 6-digit number, and you can just type in the number, pull up all their information, which is quite a lot of data to have at your fingertips. I need to find out the number of the kid and also blur out half the screen. All right, the assessment's in about 2 minutes. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but we just got to give it our best shot. I've never worked with a child with a functional neurological disorder. I've actually just learned what that is. It's a neurological disorder that has no physical cause. So this kid lost the ability to walk and had to relearn it, but there was no physical cause of the loss of ability to walk. Obviously, that can cause a lot of mental distress. So we're going to talk about that and then decide what to do after the assessment. So it went better than I thought it would, as in, yeah, I've never worked with a kid with functional neurological disorder before, but then a lot of the assessments, even though they're so different, actually follow a very similar kind of structure. It talks about the time leading up to when the kid started having difficulties with walking, the situation at home, the situation in school. The situations obviously had an impact on their mood. However, since the peak of these difficulties, it seems that they're actually doing a lot better and don't really require any additional support at the moment. We did propose the family consultancy service and individual interventions that are available, but they were managing well. So we just said, if you need to come back in future, then the door is always open. And in terms of how I did personally, my supervisor said, good at building rapport. I was calm guy, what can I say? I took a genuine interest in it. I think that's the best piece of advice I've gotten throughout this placement, is just to fall back on curiosity whenever you feel stuck for something to say. I like to think, what would a psychologist ask? Or what would like a real clinician ask? But in the end, what a real clinician would ask is what they are genuinely wondering. In assessments especially, it's not about always imposing theoretical background into your questioning. It's just going through the sections and exploring whatever comes up. There were points where I could have let the conversation take a bit of a tangent, but I kind of brought it back to the structure, which I guess there isn't always a right way to do that. But I think when I do like rigidly stick to the structure, it comes from a place of like nervousness more than anything. Now I need to write up the notes I got from this assessment and pass them on to the clinician I was with. But before then, I have a panel meeting, which I need to go to now because I'm late. Just picked up a meal deal from Tesco. We've got innocent smoothie, bought from the Blue, which has guava, lime, apple, coconut water, and blue spirulina, one of my favourite foods.
Spirulina.
Yeah, sounds like a pasta. And then we've got southern fried chicken wrap. Can't go wrong. What are the macros? 15 grams of protein in a pack, so good for the gains. When these are in stock, the Thornton's Fudge Brownie, highly recommend. Like, top class content. The world's a dark place, you know, working in psychology, we know how dark the world is, and they've actually increased the price of the Tesco meal deal in recent weeks to £3.50 without a club card. So solidarity to everyone out there who has enjoyed their Tesco meal deals up until now. Right, so I've moved back to the spare office for the rest of the afternoon. A lot of the team work remotely. It means there's quite a lot of space in the hot desking situation. On a certain day, everyone will decide they want to work in the office and it'll be really busy. So luckily today's a quieter day. Firstly, I'm going to do some catching up of family consultancy. Family consultancy is a one-off intervention offered in this service by family therapists and educational psychologists. There are two clinicians in the room during a family consultation. The first clinician is running the session, whereas the second one is chipping in occasionally, but generally just taking notes. And after the session, the second clinician writes up a therapeutic letter which both summarizes what happened in the session but also offers kind of food for thought. It's meant to act somewhat as a replacement for additional in-person sessions. That's my whistle-stop tour of family consultancy. So yeah, I had a session last week with this family and I'm going to try and write up one of the letters now. I must interrupt this segment to bring you a very special interlude. Basically, in each of these episodes, I have interviewed a member of the team. I'm a great journalist. So you can have an idea what it's like in a range of roles here. First up today is one of the clinical psychologists here. So let's go and interview him and see what he has to say.
My name is Emmanuel Steels and I am a clinical psychologist.
What's a typical day like for you in CAMHS?
You could start at 8 o'clock or before that. If we focus on, say, a 9 to 5, the first part of that day consists of screening all the referrals that we have received, prioritizing those who are at high risk and require a risk management call. So we would ring the families up, explain to them how to mitigate the risk. Then we have to allocate cases. Based on the information that we have, we may know what the most appropriate next step is, and it may not require an assessment to be offered in the first place. For example, a 7-year-old child who seems to have great difficulty in concentrating, is very agitated, is disruptive in class, but there is no risk and there is no mental health difficulty. It may make sense that if the request from the school, from the parents and the GP is specifically for ADHD assessment, that we go down that route. Otherwise, we would phone the families, try and establish contact to get some more background information, address any risk if it does come up. Where necessary, we would offer an assessment. So we frequently have meetings with social services, where there's safeguarding concerns, meetings with the school, we call them team around the child meetings or team around the family meetings. Everybody comes to share what they think has improved, but equally so we focus on the concerns and then we agree on what the plan is thereafter. Every service is aware of what is expected of them without interventions overlapping or there being too many professionals or not sufficiently, or certain areas of a young person's life not being addressed sufficiently. So
what would you say to someone who is thinking of becoming a clinical psychologist and getting into the field? Anything they should bear in mind? Okay, I'm flagging, boys. For the rest of today, I'm going to help out where I can with neurodevelopmental screening. Within the triage process, a number of the referrals, quite a lot of them actually, are referrals for screening and diagnosis of a neurodevelopmental disorder. So what me and Maisie do is summarize the documents that have been sent, thinking about ADHD and autism. There's a school report, there's a developmental history, a bunch of questionnaires, any additional documents, because a lot of the children will have speech and language difficulties, occupational therapy, and on top of that, mental health difficulties. Screening is about partialling out those different factors, like what's going on in the rest of the family as well, to decide whether it's worth putting forward for assessment. But my role at the moment is just to summarize the documents, so that's what I'm going to do. It's like CCTV footage. All right, gonna call it a day there, boys. I have had a reasonably productive day overall after doing the assessment, dipping my toes in the other areas of my role, family consultancy and the neurodevelopmental screening stuff as well. Thank you to South West London and St George's Mental Health Trust for giving me the opportunity to film here. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode of A Day in the Life at CAMHS.